Today I am going to modify a recipe. I haven't done that in a while, where I actually found one in a magazine and make some changes live on YouTube. So this is sausage and broccoli rabe penne. So I'm leaving out a few things and adding things that I like better. But if you're interested for the original recipe, it's in Runner's World magazine, September 2009. A couple things to tell you is the main ingredient is, I think that the ingredient that there's the most of is the broccoli rabe, and I don't know if you ever bought that before. It comes in a bunch and it usually has this wrapped around it. It's in the produce section, and it is just bursting with calcium, potassium, folate, vitamin A, vitamin C. You can look it up on the USDA nutrient database, and you will be very impressed with this vegetable. The recipe calls for it to be chopped up, but before it was chopped up, like I said, it was in a bunch, but it looks like this. So they're wild, well, I don't know if wild's the right word, but they're greens, and they have like little florets of broccoli on them. I had these a lot growing up, and they're tart greens, but they're going to be really good in this dish. I'm certain of it. Another thing is it calls for Italian sausage, but I'm using Morningstar Farms vegetarian sausage. I'm using 2 links. It calls for penne pasta, which if this isn't your first video, you know that I am the queen of the mini meal. So I'm going to use hardly any of this penne. What I want to do is make the main dish, and then I'm going to top penne with half of it, and I'm going to top spaghetti squash with the other half, and then I'm going to show you the differences. I'm trying to make it so they each have 130 calories, and you'll see the difference. Now, again, this is a very small meal, but you could make it much bigger. This is Healthy Harvest penne, and I read all the labels. I looked at calories and the serving size, so that all the serving size was 56 grams, but the calories varied. So I bought the lowest one that was still nutritious. And if you happen to read my blog this week when I talked about labels, I introduced something called the whole grain seal, and it's on this pasta. So this is the first time I've seen it on a product I bought, and that tells you that one serving size has at least 7 or 8 grams of fiber. So that's awesome. Or, I'm sorry, not how much fiber, but that the serving size has that much whole grains, that it's really a whole grain product. So I'm using just a little bit of this. You'll see the difference when we get going. I don't want to take up too much more time because I know I should keep the video short. So, also, I'm not going to cook it exactly the way they described it in there. I'm going to simmer fry it, and I'm not going to cook my pasta in my main dish, which I thought was very odd, because you would be boiling all that starch into your dish and keeping it there, as opposed to cooking the pasta and draining it. So I'm going to warm up this large pan. It has to be large because we're going to cook these chopped greens in a lot of water. I have about 4 cups of the broccoli rabe chopped. And again, I have 2 of the Morningstar sausage links. I'll go ahead and cut them up now. And the main spice is garlic, cloves, and red pepper flakes. So I'm just going to put a dash of red pepper flakes in there later. It says to mince the garlic. I'm going to go ahead and press it though. And like I often do, I'm going to press it here on the cutting board because I'm not cooking in oil. So sausage and garlic here. And another ingredient is diced tomatoes. I'm using a cup of diced tomatoes. So my ingredients are the fake sausage, garlic, red pepper flakes, crushed tomato, or diced tomato, broccoli rabe. And I'm going to put this entree. One will be served mixed with penne, and the other will be served on the spaghetti squash. And then I will top each one with just about a teaspoon of Parmesan cheese. So the first thing I'm going to do is simmer fry the sausage and garlic. And I don't need to simmer fry that long because there's really not anything that's cooking in there. And then I'm going to add the tomato. And then I will add, I'm guessing 2 cups of water, but I'll look and see. And the broccoli rabe, and then we'll let it simmer until the broccoli rabe is done. So I'll have to let you know how long that took. Just simmer fry this for just, I don't know, 1 minute. While we're waiting for that, I can be scraping the spaghetti squash. So this spaghetti squash came like this, cut it in half, scraped out the seeds. I placed it in this baking dish, baked it for 30 minutes at about 375. Then I turned them over because they were getting too dry, and baked them for another about 15 minutes, so about 45 minutes altogether. And what I don't use in the spaghetti squash for this dish, I can use for wonderful vegetable side dishes where you just season it with garlic powder, Parmesan cheese, and just a sprinkle of parsley to make it pretty, and just warm it up. Even in the toaster oven, it'll be great. So 30 calories of this spaghetti squash is going to be so much bigger than 30 calories of that penne. And that's volumetric. And there's nothing wrong with that pasta. It's just that if you're going to keep your calories in control or moderate, then you have to eat less of the penne. And I, for one, just don't like to eat less, period. Okay, so that's been going for about a minute. There's still a little bit of water in there. I didn't let it boil out, but I don't think I need to because I don't have any vegetables in there cooking. So a cup of the crushed tomatoes goes in. I feel like I should be adding oregano or something because I have these tomatoes here, but I'm not. I'm trusting that the greens are very pungent, and then topping it with a bit of the Parmesan cheese is going to give it a nice flavor. That's the plan. So I'm going to let this come to a boil and then simmer for, I'm going to say 2 or 3 minutes. Then I will add the broccoli rabe, and I should wait for that so I can tell you how much water I actually ended up. Looking at it, I think I'm going to need 2 cups, so I'm going to go ahead and fill this up. This meal, I can't imagine really having any fat in it except a trace amount from the sprinkle of Parmesan cheese that we're going to put on top, so I wouldn't worry about that. I would safely call this a fat-free meal. So the tomatoes are just getting going. Cooking in there with that garlic. It's nice. By the way, I've made this so much smaller than the article ingredients. They have 12 ounces of the sausage, 3 tablespoons of olive oil, which is 360 in calories right there. It calls for olives. I just don't particularly like those. We have the cloves, garlic, and the red pepper. It has a big can of crushed tomatoes. We're using just a little, some salt. Well, that's probably for when you cook the pasta. We don't need the salt. You can add salt later if you